All right, and we are back. We are accompanied right by the Watcher in the sky.
Yes,
I'm
he's
joined by
watching us.
the People's Bases. You guys know him. You guys love him. Cheech
What
Carrero. What's
what
going
is
on,
up,
Cheech?
man? Not much, man. How's it going? My usual Thursday, hung out with my
Yeah, happy
daughter,
Thursday.
played some bass, started to
I
write
I saw
a
that
re
vinyl. Yes, it's
oh
fragile
yeah,
vinyl.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
I keep forgetting how beautiful the album cover is.
Oh yeah, all those prog rock album covers were amazing. Today I started writing Foxtrot. I mean I'm getting deep into
Yeah, we're
prog,
we're, we're
right?
getting proggy. So
We're
get
getting
excited. I mean, I'm so excited because I don't think there's n not enough episodes on prog rock. So
no.
I'm really excited how we're explaining this genre, and I think we're due for a prog renaissance. No pun intended, because Joe's
Yeah.
favorite band.
Renaissance. It would be nice to see if these kids could do this, in this generation or in the
Yeah,
next 20 years. But we'll see. We'll see
we
what
need
happens.
more 20-minute epics. Like honestly,
Yeah. Kids put down the turntables, pick up
yeah.
instruments. No,
Put
I
put
mean there's a
down put
lot of
down
kids,
your jazzy beats and start playing some, intense bass lines.
there's a lot of kids who are rocking instruments
Yeah.
still on YouTube.
Oh, as an aside, I was gonna send you a video of this interesting. You know what's funny? There was an interesting band I came across. Have you heard of this band called Geese?
Yeah, actually,
So I'm gonna send you a video.
no, Goose. I think they're called Goose. They're like a local
Okay.
band.
There's a
No.
band from Brooklyn that are actually kind of saving rock. They're saving, they have this band, they have this album called Getting Killed. And
Mhm.
I'll send it to you. It's very fascinating, but it proves to me that rock is not dead. So maybe there is hope.
That's great. It's great. The only thing that sucks is
Yo, we need
see,
more guitarists and maybe less DJs.
there's not a vehicle. Like that's always been my argument.
You
Like
should
this,
see Geese though. How they did
yeah.
is fascinating. But anyway,
Like like I just hope, there's like so many bands out there like that. Yeah, it would be nice to see one last. You know, I can't remember a band that's lasted for the years.
that's
Like
that's true. In terms of the 2000s, a few come to mind. The Killers.
yeah, but
Um,
they were MTV darlings. You know what I mean? Still, they
oh,
were
yeah, good point. Good point.
so like.
Hey, that's right, because I grew up on their music videos.
Yeah, so without the
That's a
music
good point.
video, it's hard. And I'm gonna check them out. Send me the video. I want to check them
I'll
out.
send it to you, and then maybe next episode get your reaction. But anyway, so let's continue our adventure into prog rock, our deep dive.
Yes.
We left off by we had this intense discussion on King Crimson. We got way too ahead of ourselves. We're gonna
Yes,
conclude like technically part one with King Crimson because that's gonna open the floodgates of prog rock. But
definitely.
before that, so we were actually gonna talk about one of the most major influences, the Canterbury scene.
Yes.
What is the Canterbury scene? What's up with that? Are we
Okay.
talking about the Canterbury Tales here? Or?
Well, it's from Kent, England, Canterbury, England. It came out of Kent, England in late 1967, early 1970. It is described as improvisational. I can't say that word.
Improvisational?
Thank you. Improvisational styles that blended jazz, rock, and psychedelia.
Oh, Cheech, I'm so sorry. Can I just mention one more thing before I
Yeah,
forget? I forgot to mention last Prague Influence and Mile. Let me hear your take on this. Miles Davis, Bitches
yeah,
Brew. What do you think
yeah.
about that?
Oh, genius. It blended everything, rock, psychedelic music,
Album cover? Pretty
fusion,
proggy?
jazz, proggy album cover. It had two bass players on it, Dave Holland, and I forgot the other guy, Jim Fender? No. Who was the bass player on that album? I forgot. Me and James had this discussion recently. Michael, Michael, Michael Henderson, I think it was. But that's a blend of prog and fusion. It's freaking
Right.
it's
Right.
absolute genius.
I just forgot to mention that because it's so funny how Miles Davis was influenced. He was one of I don't think he was the inventor of cool jazz, but he was one of its kings. But then he takes this weird left turn into rock music and decided to
Oh
incorporate
yeah.
the rock guitar and
Well, he
created.
was inspired by Hendrix. That's who
There we go.
inspired.
And he was a mix of jazz, acid, prog rock, right? In a way, like blues.
Oh yeah,
He kind of built a template on that.
definitely.
But yeah, I just want to mention that. But sorry, Chief.
Yeah. No,
Canterbury scene. So we're in Kent, England.
Kent, England, in the late 60s, early 70s. It's described as improvisational style that blended jazz, rock, psychedelia, prog jazz, avant-garde in Canterbury, England, or Kent, England. Its sound was based on tension between complicated harmonies, extended improvisational improvs, and catchy pop edge. A harmonic combination using the minor second chord, but improvising different from jazz. So it wasn't a jazz improv; it was
Hmm.
more of an
Hmm.
avant-garde improvise kind of
And
thing.
and musically, like Cheech, how would you describe that? Like, because you know music. What is it? Now,
Avant-garde.
mind you, people probably nowadays don't know what that is. What does that mean?
Avant-garde is something that sounds very dissonant to the ears. Not,
Is
not,
that
not.
good or bad?
It depends. It depends if that's what you like. A lot of dissonance, a lot of minor chords. Like they use the minor second, which is a great sound to use.
Any
Um,
songs that we know that would use that, like well-known songs?
the Beatles used it.
Aha.
They use a
Okay.
minor second. Um, so it's definitely the fathers of prog.
And
And the
why did this
harmony.
happen, Cheech? What do you have any in your notes? Why Canterbury? Like, why
I
was
don't know. That
interesting, right?
that is a good question. I really
Yeah.
don't know why it happened
No,
there.
and your research is on point because I've seen other videos and my own research. Canterbury was the one of the birth or I should say maybe fetuses of Prague, where
Oh yeah, yeah. There
elements
was.
were coming together.
Oh, definitely. So like I said, the sound was based on, so it's not they're not gonna improv like a jazz musician. They're gonna improv like a avant-garde musician,
Right.
you know, that kind of thing. Hugh Collins Harper is the pioneer in the sound that became prog rock. He played uh bass in a band called Soft Machine with Alan Holdsworth. Now, Soft Machine is the band of the Canterbury scene.
Okay,
Soft Machine.
so that's Soft Machine.
Yeah, Soft Machine.
Okay.
And I'm gonna get to their albums and everything. And they had the great Alan Holdsworth, who is one of the greatest guitar players in the, prog fusion rock. He's on UK's album. That's how you know Alan Holdsworth,
There you go.
Um, and then there's a guy named Robert Wyatt U. Hopper. Dave Stewart was also in a band called Egg. So we talked about prehistoric stuff last week, right? That was the Moody Blues and
Mhm.
Nights. Okay, so moving on.
And I will say it was part of the counterculture in Canterbury. It sounds like very countercultural.
Oh yeah, it was
That's what it
probably like
sounds like.
what was going
You
on,
know what
like
it sounds like San Francisco psychedelic scene, but in Canterbury. Like that's what it
yes,
sounds like to me.
that's what I think it is, and they just used um prog elements instead of like the Grateful Dead or hippie
Right,
kind of
right.
kind of things, you
Yeah,
know.
because they did something similar with like acid psychedelic rock, where they kind of like infused it with like long jams.
Yeah.
There was an influence of like jazz fusion in there for some of them,
Oh yeah,
you know.
definitely.
So that's what it sounds like. But I guess Prague wasn't influenced by the San Fran scene, but more obviously this one because it's at
Yeah.
close to home.
So another guy is Richard Sinclair. He played in a band called Caravan. So I'm going to name some of the Canterbury bands. Soft Machine, 1966, if I could say this album. Alan, I'm sorry, with Alan Holdsworth. It's called Soft Machine Volume 2. Caravan, 1968, The
Hmm.
Land of the Gray and Pink. I recommend that album. That's the epitome of the Canterbury scene.
Mm.
Gong. The Gong is different. They weren't from Kent. They were from Paris, and they have an album called Teapot, 1971. So it kind of blends into the Prague era. And once again, Bill Bruford ends up playing drums for Gong. A band called Egg, 1969, The Polite Force, and a band called Camel, 1971.
Hmm.
The album's called Camel. Now, Camel, I highly recommend them. They're more proggy than Canterbury, but they sound like a lot. They sound like that was Joe.
Yeah, James Reddy.
They sound a lot like Dream Theater.
Hmm.
Um, so um,
And I will
so
say, and for our audience here, if I had to take a guess, if you listen, I think the Canterbury scene equivalent in America is Frank Zappa. That's what it sounds like.
I would say Zappa would be yeah, because he
Like
is
that weird
avant-garde.
avant-garde, kind of it's
Yeah,
accessible. It's not,
yeah,
it isn't so like, you can't listen to it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
out there. It's I'm assuming weird too, like weird.
yeah. And Mike Oldfield is from the
And Mike
Canterbury.
Oldfield,
Yeah, he's from the
which
Canterbury scene.
he's a great example of Tubular Bells where
He's the most successful of the
yes,
Canterbury
and his
scene.
success is weird too. Like
Yeah,
just the fact that he made it. Yeah, he was in the Prog world before he, obviously his 1 minute snippet of Tubular Bells made it to the Exorcist
yeah,
soundtrack, which
it's pretty
fascinating.
crazy. Um, and then the avant-garde Prague, and then that ended up turning into Yes, ELP, Genesis, and then they took it to the next level. So what do you think the difference is between Prague and Canterbury? What would you say the difference is?
So I think the difference is I got two. So one is the maybe the avant-garde.
That's a key one. Yeah.
That's a key one because avant-garde, like I'm not saying like Prague isn't avant-garde, but avant-garde, you're right. Like it can be many things. It's not meant to be accessible. I think
Right.
prog rock is accessible, right? It's
Yeah.
aiming to make
Like
conceptual.
these guys didn't care about commercial.
Right, right. And that's a countercultural aspect of it.
Yeah.
We don't care
Like
about records.
the Prague guy, yeah, they didn't even care about selling records. At least
Right,
the Prague guys had a label that said you got to sell
right,
something, you
right,
know?
right.
So
And
they would
what's
just do whatever they wanted. That's the difference.
that's what it sounds like. Yep.
Yeah. Um, and then there's also a focus on jazz
Yeah,
more. There's more of a jazz focus than a
I can
classical
I can see
focus.
that. Yeah, because
You know?
Prague will end up I'm not saying it will end up shedding that jazz off it because
Yeah.
it's kind of fascinating in the rock world. Like Carlos Santana will become more fusion as he kind of like continues.
Right.
For example,
Exactly.
as an example, but Prague will transform into something else, losing sort of like the jazz. Um,
Yeah.
but it will keep the time signatures, some of like the rhythmic patterns, I think, of jazz, but
Oh yeah, definitely.
it won't sound like Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, for example.
No, no.
Or
Um,
like the psychedelic, like Grateful Dead jams or whatever.
yeah, it's completely different sound. And then there's also a focus on jazz, avant-garde, and improvising, where prog rock is based on symphonic, classical, with some jazz concepts,
Mhm.
and experimental. And King Crimson would be you know, the epitome of that, going back to Crimson.
Yeah, it's all
Uh,
leading up to that.
like Crimson is not a Canterbury influence band at all.
No, no, no,
You
no.
know,
I agree with that, but I think that it sounds like what the Canterbury scene did was that it provided these musicians, and mostly English. I don't think that's a coincidence.
all English,
That
yeah, except
they
for Gong. Gong was from Paris.
Okay, so it provided them with this opportunity to really expand rock music. Like we could
Yeah,
do it. Look what they're doing at Canterbury. Why
yeah,
don't we pull the stuff that works, put it in like a rock format? And a lot of these English types were intellectuals, so they would now many of them are going to be lyricists. So, and this is going to give us an epic album like in the court of the Crimson King. And even
exactly.
the artwork is avant-garde. It's out there. I mean,
I
it's
mean, it's almost like I think Sid Barrett was influenced by Canterbury.
oh, it's obvious. Sid
Yeah,
Barrett's influence on that. Yeah.
because it's way before Pink Floyd.
Right.
And then I think that's pretty much all I got on the
And,
Canterbury scene.
and this closes the door on prehistoric Prague before we delve through the deep
Yeah,
dive into Prague.
and
Starting
and
with King Crimson in a way, and then eventually the
and
other
then yeah,
guys.
oh yeah, King Crimson is the number one prog band first. But like these are the bands I recommend you check out. Soft Machine, 1966 with
Mm.
Alan Holdsworth. Volume 2 is the album. Caravan, Land of the Gray and the Pink. I played that album out. I love that album. Um, and Gong, they're different. They're from Paris. It's called Teapot. Camel, 1969. Polite Force. I'm sorry, Egg 1969, Polite Force, Camel 1971. And just again to reiterate, the difference between prog rock and the Canterbury scene is their avant-garde jazz influence
Mhm.
opposed to rock, heavy rock, and symphonic classical music.
Yeah.
That's a huge
Yeah,
difference. So,
it's major. That's because the Canterbury scene. I'm gonna go out to listen to all that music,
yeah,
but what it sounds like is that it's less accessible, the Canterbury scene stuff. Now,
yeah, yeah.
and eventually it'll evolve into prog
And
rock.
it's forgotten.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I think
not,
the only ones that would know it are the prog rock fans or historians.
yeah, if you're a prog rock fan, you're gonna know Soft Parade, you're gonna know Egg, you're gonna know Caravan. But there's a great documentary if you could find it on YouTube where I learned all this stuff as a young kid. I remember on Channel 13 they used to play it, and I found the documentary, so going back, you have the Beatles, number one, Prehistoric, Moody Blues, Procol Harum, leading up to Soft Parade. Egg, Camel, Caravan. I can't stop talking about.
Mm.
They're the best. And then Gong. So those check those out, and then listen. Use your ears to listen for that avant-garde jazz psychedelic sound too. That's in there. I might have missed that in there. So, any questions on that?
I think we're good. That closes the book on prehistoric progressive rock.
Yeah. So
We'll set up the scene for King Crimson, and then now open the doors for the big
the big four.
big four. We got the big four of
Yeah.
heavy metal. We got the big four of prog rock.
Yeah, and lately I'm almost like I'm obsessed with Genesis.
And I'm telling you, I'm surprised you haven't been obsessed before. Like,
I was like I got Fox. I had the live album.
dude, and you need to listen to Nursery Crime. Like
Yeah,
the Genesis, and then we'll let Joe back in. Genesis has interesting albums with Trespass is pretty interesting.
yeah.
But things are getting really good is Nursery Crime. They perfected on Foxtrot. They
That's
reach
perfection.
they reach levels.
Supper's
Dude,
Ready is perfection.
oh, dude, that whole song just
Watchers from the Sky.
it begins epic and ends on an epic.
I think that's the beginning of prog metal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Iron Maiden. It's Rush. I mean, there's such a huge influence
yeah,
Genesis had, and it's not talked about enough.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And the influence is the whole album, but is you hear it on Hemispheres. Like, dude, Hemispheres is Genesis.
it
Just
totally is.
reborn as a trio because
Yeah,
Genesis were like a 4 or 5 piece band to create that sound.
yeah,
Pretty astounded that Genesis were able to, Rush was able to do it with a power trio style. But yeah, even the album cover, the conception
yeah,
and concepts in it, like
yeah.
Rush was like obviously Getty and Neil and
Well, I know
Alex were listening
Getty.
to them very closely.
I know they talked about Genesis, but Getty talks about "Thick as a Brick" being his favorite prog album.
I could see that.
You know, so we're gonna get into the big four next time. We covered the Canterbury
Mhm.
scene. Please comment on the Canterbury scene. Let us know if you know about the Canterbury scene. If you like prog, please, please go back and go to the origins. Canterbury, England. Check those bands out that I mentioned. They started it. They're the main. Without them, I don't think Prague would have been what it became. It influenced Yes, definitely influenced Crimson, Genesis. They all talk about it. ELP. The Nice were around during the Canterbury scene. That's Emerson's first band, Keith Emerson.
Mhm.
But they're very different. They're a very different type of sound. So. But
Yeah, and I got here in the land of gray and pink, Caravan.
Caravan, that's my favorite
I'll
album.
say 1971. So
Yeah, that's my favorite Canterbury. I think Caravan is the epitome of the Canterbury scene. A lot of people disagree and say Soft Parade, but I gotta say Caravan. I
I mean,
love
that's
that.
yeah,
I
that's
love that
that's
album. That's a great. So check out Caravan and Egg and Gong and Camel, Soft Parade. They are the bands that led up to Genesis, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yes, and of course the wonderful King Crimson. Let's just stop because we don't want to go there. You know.
And then we'll close the chapter on this, and then we'll see you in the court of the Crimson King.
Exactly.
All right, Cheech.
All right.
See you on the next. We'll leave Canterbury. We're gonna
We'll
go.
say goodbye to Canterbury, Jeffrey
Goodbye,
Chaucer.
Canterbury. But our audience, get listen to the Canterbury. Here's some
Yep.
homework. Listen to some
That's
of these
your
bands,
homework. Listen to,
Caravan, especially as you say, they're sort of like the top of the Canterbury scene.
in my opinion, I might have,
I agree with that. I also did
I'm,
research. I did a little bit of research on this, and it does look like it's funny too. Quick and last note here: the Canterbury scene music, it wasn't really accessible, but it's lost and underrated. Like
yeah,
it needs to be rescued. Um, it's such great. I remember hearing a piece. I forgot who it was. It's like from another world. Like it's
yeah.
weird how it happened, but yeah, Canterbury.
I would say Mike Oldfield is the most commercially
Yeah.
successful,
And he shouldn't have been though. Like it's weird
but
his story.
he's not doing Canterbury music. Tubular Bells is not really the Canterbury music. It's prog rock. It's prog rock. You know, it
Yeah,
has
no, and it's people don't know this. It's part of like a 25-minute like epic.
there's
That's just the beginning piano line.
there's elements of the Canterbury scene in Tubular Bells. There's definitely elements of the Canterbury scene in there, but it's
The
completely
avant-gardeness too, the
yeah.
avant-garde.
Whenever you don't really hear avant-garde in ELP. You hear it in Genesis though.
You know
Um,
where you hear it, it's all over the place and it reaches its I guess it evolves progically. I made that word up, but
I
it
like that.
evolves on The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway because there is some avant-garde music on that album. So
Yeah.
it sort of like reaches that point where, yeah, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the songs from the Canterbury scene were instrumental passages, complex,
Oh yeah, yeah.
weird, right? So they're
Really,
not really.
very strange, very
They're not
strange.
accessible. They are accessible if you listen. You have to learn how to listen. But
Yeah, you have
otherwise,
to listen on this one. And the thing is, you have to distinguish avant-garde and jazz. That's the difference. And improvisation, but not like jazz improvisation.
Mhm.
Prog rock is rock and symphonic classical music with
Mhm.
bits of jazz thrown in there. That's the difference. Like I was at CVS the other day, and I had to get medicine for my parents, and I'm trying to figure out the new system. I don't know if you've been there. There's like uh,
Yeah.
a computer thing. So Joe's waiting. So really quick, I'll
Yeah.
do this. So I'm trying to, but we're doing an episode with Mr. Silkman right after this. Uh, so I'm trying to figure out the new computer thing, and my kid goes, "Dad, come here, ba 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 ba." Right. So the lady laughs and she goes, "See these kids? They could, they know it way better than us." And I said, "Yeah, but could this kid sit down and listen to, you know, I would Close to the Edge by Yes from the beginning to the end?" And she
Yes.
lady laughed her ass off. She's like,
Dude, no, dude, it is true. Mind you, I don't know if they can even finish a book, let alone listen to an album.
"I know." Actually,
You're right.
my kid, I messaged you. My kid's getting
That's
into
right. I gotta send
reading.
you Rex. I gotta send you
I,
Rex. Yes,
I
yes.
just bought her. I bought her. She wanted to read Dracula, the book,
That's a
heavily.
that's a great choice.
It's a great read,
Yeah.
and we live in Barnes and Noble lately. That's all on Central Avenue. We just been. I sent you the Tesla book. I was gonna
Yeah,
buy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So not that Tesla guy. The real Tesla guy. You know.
Jackson, Nikola Tesla, the
Yeah,
real
that guy.
Tesla.
Yeah, not the alien Tesla who makes flying cars. The guy who really invented shit. You know what I mean? Oh,
The,
I might get in trouble for that. You know, he
I
might
hope
come
we
for
don't.
me
I
in my
hope we don't.
sleep.
Yeah, I know. I hope we don't get taken off by the
He might
YouTube gods.
he might get me in my sleep and
Oh
reprogram my
yeah. Oh
brain.
yeah. He's gonna use Skynet. Dude, I think he has something Skylink,
You
Starlink.
can use your thoughts to open up
It's,
doors and
I'm
like
like, what is this? Skynet from the Terminator?
there was
Like,
a movie called Witch Mountain when I was a kid. Like that shit like that. It's coming to life. Anyway, we got to move on to our next episode. This was great. Please comment about the Canterbury scene. It's a lost musical scene,
it's
and
lost. So you
and
definitely need to use your music archaeology and actually dig it up.
yeah,
Yeah.
and thanks to the Cheech and Manny show for sharing it to our
Yeah. I
viewers.
love it. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't even never thought about it until you mentioned it. I would have just jumped in right into like, the Prague stuff and assumed like we'll
Yeah,
start here. But
and it's so important to Prague. Without the Canterbury scene, there really wouldn't be the Prague that we know. Going back to Sergeant Pepper's and all the bands we
Mhm.
named. So on this note, well, I will see you soon, and please like, subscribe, and keep watching the Cheech and Manny show. Nanu, nanu.
Cheech, I'll see you in the next one.
All
Get
right,
ready, man. Don't get scared. We're gonna enter the halls of the Crimson King. So,
we are.
all right, Cheech.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Cheech and Manny Show.